this is Sara Sach with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to show you how to make these super easy, super fun donut coasters. I thought they were a great item to go along with our donut pillow. You can lean against that pillow, have a cup of coffee, and set that coaster right next to you for lots of fun. And this is a great way to get rid of some of your cotton yarns. Now, these three are made with cotton, and this one is made with worsted weight yarn number 4. Now, you can use worsted weight number 4 if you want to. It works up exactly the same. This one worked up just a smidge bigger. You can see it's just a tiny smidge, not even, just a tiny bit bigger. This one is a little smaller because I tried it on a G hook. So if you want your stitches to be a little tighter, you can go down to a G hook. For today's demonstration, we're going to be using our H hook 5mm. And you're going to need cotton yarn. We're going to be using this yellow for our frosting. I've got a little bit left over of this brown cotton, and I'm going to use this colorful cotton to make the sprinkles. Now, these are a free pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link right down there in the notes underneath the video if you want to have the written pattern. I kind of like to use both. That's why I like to provide that for you. The written pattern is there so you can check stitch counts, and maybe just in case I forgot to say some portion or some tricky thing in the pattern, you can reference that pattern, and that's why I like to have it written out for you. All right, so we said we're going to need our H hook 5mm, and of course our cotton yarns, like I said. You're going to need scissors for cutting your yarn, and then you're going to need a needle for weaving in those ends. The donut coaster measures about 4.5 inches across when stitched with our H hook. If you want your donut to be just a little bit smaller, you can stitch it with your G hook and it will be about 4 inches. And these also make great appliques for decoration, or you can hang them up and stick them on a banner for a party or something. So they're great to make, and they're fun to be able to make them in a couple of sizes just by changing your crochet hook. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with using the center color for making the center of our donut. And then we'll change colors to our frosting color, and then we'll do a row back to our donut color. So to begin with, we're going to start with our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 8 chains. We're going to take that chain and join it in a circle, and we'll do that by taking the tail of our yarn, wrapping it over our hook, and pulling it through that loop that's on our hook. And then we'll snug that down, and I always give it just another little knot just to make sure it's going to hold. And then we'll have our little circle. And we're going to be stitching 10 single crochets in that circle. And if you want to stitch over that tail that's left over, just lay that there, and as we stitch our single crochets, we can stitch right over it. So we're going to lay that across there. We're going to take our hook and go right in that loop and pull up a loop and chain 1. And that gets us to the outside of our ring or our circle. And then we're going to stitch our 10 single crochets. So we'll go in the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And we'll do this 9 more times so that we'll have a total of 10 single crochets around our loop. And hold that string down, and this just alleviates us having an extra step of having to tie that down and weave that in. All right, let me count how many I've made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to make 2 more. All right, so now I have 10. Little buddy. And we'll cut that off in a second. Once you've stitched your 10 single crochets, join to the top of the first single crochet. And we do that by putting our hook through those 2 top loops, pull a loop through, and then pull that loop through the loop that's already on our hook. And then we'll chain 1. Now the chain 1 on each row does not count as a stitch. At this point, we're going to go ahead and cut off that little extra string. And because we stitched over it, we don't have to weave that in later. All right, for row 2, we're going to place 2 single crochets in the first single crochet. So 1, 2. Then we're going to place 2 single crochets in each single crochet around. So we have 10 single crochets in row 1, and we're going to have 20 single crochets in row 2. So all we're doing is placing 2 single crochets in each single crochet around, and then we'll join to that first single crochet. I placed 2 single crochets in each single crochet around. And now I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. And I'm not going to chain 1 because I'm going to be joining in my frosting color. But do not cut your donut yarn off, your donut color yarn off. Just leave that there. Grab your frosting color. Hook it over your yarn or your crochet hook and snug that down, and now chain 1. And this is going to keep it snug down. All right, now for row 3 we're going to be stitching half double crochets. In this first single crochet we're going to place 2 half double crochets. To stitch a half double crochet, yarn over, go in the stitch, and pull up a loop. You'll have those 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. And we're going to put another half double crochet in that same stitch. And then we're going to place only 1 half double crochet in the next stitch. And this is the way that row 3 will be worked. 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in the next. This is going to give us a total of 30 half double crochets. And we'll continue this around and join to the top of that first half double crochet that we stitched. So we're going to stitch 2 half double crochets, whoops, there we go, in the next stitch, and 1 half double crochet in the next, all the way around, and join. This is the way row 3 should look. It's our first rounder row of frosting. And now we're going to do another row of the frosting color. So we've joined to the top of that half double crochet and chained 1. And we're going to place 1 half double crochet in the first 2 stitches. So there's 1 and then 1 in the next stitch. And then we're going to place 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. And this is what I call doing 2 and 2. 1 half double crochet in the next 2 stitches and 2 half double crochets in the next. So one in the next, one in the next, and then two in the next. And this should give us a total of 40 half double crochets on this row. 1 and 2. And this is the way it's going to look. 1 half double crochet in the first 2 stitches, 2 half double crochets in the next. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2 and 2 all the way around, and then we're going to join to the top of that first half double crochet. But don't chain 1 because we're going to be changing colors back to our donut color from the center. I completed the row of half double crochets. I joined to the top of that first half double crochet, but I didn't chain 1, and that's because we're going to change back to our brownish beige for our donuts. I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn, put my hook through that loop, and I'm just going to draw up my brown color that I'm using for my donut, that beigey brown. There's the back. You can see I just pulled it up. And now I'm going to chain 1. Now make sure you snug that yellow one down, and we'll weave those in just a bit. Now on this last row of our donut, we're going to go back to stitching single crochets. And we will be stitching 1 single crochet in the first 3 half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in that next stitch, and that's how this last row is worked. 1 single crochet in the next 3 single crochets, and 2 single crochets in the next. And we'll do this again, working all the way around our little donut coaster, and then we'll join back here to the first single crochet, and then I'll show you how to weave in your ends and put on your sprinkles, because even though a donut looks cute, it's not as cute as it can be unless it has sprinkles. So let's continue on with our 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and 2 single crochets in the next. I stitched all the way around. Now I'm going to join to the top of that first single crochet and pull my loop through. And I've went ahead and cut off my yarn. And something that I like to do is make that loop just a little bit bigger, go behind on the next stitch and pull that loop to the back, and then tie it off. And I think it just gives the front just a little bit better appearance. All right, so let's turn it over, and we're going to use our needle and just weave these ends in real quick. Now remember, when you're weaving in and you're using different colors, try to stay in that color. If I weave this in down in the yellow, it might show through. There we go. Got a little unwound there. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few stitches on the back, trying to go through some of the fibers of the stitches, the fibers of the yarn in the stitches. Go one way and then turn and go back the other way. Sometimes I'll do it 2 or 3 times depending on how much yarn I have left on the tail. All right, let's do our yellow one. And something that I do to keep this from getting caught, this piece or went across, is I just stitch a few stitches while I'm weaving in just going over it, and I'm weaving in and holding that stitch down at the same time. Just helps it stay put, and then I'll just go back the other direction. Just like that. And now the back is pretty much tidy. So here's our front, and we need some sprinkles. And so I've chosen to use a variegated for this one, and it's got several different colors in it, and it's just some that I had on hand left over from a project. So I'm going to just cut off a piece about 12, 14, 16 inches long. I'm sure I'm going to have to cut another piece as well, depending on how many sprinkles I stitch onto my donut. And what I do in stitching the sprinkles on is I come up underneath and I leave a little bit of a tail there like that. Just hold it with my finger, and I make diagonal stitches going several different ways randomly. Just moving around randomly. It's up to you how big you want your sprinkles to be. I did have someone ask me if they could use beads or buttons for sprinkles on the pillow, and that I made the other day with our crochet along, and you can. The issue with that is if you're going to use it to put your head on, that might not feel too comfortable. And if you use beads or buttons on this coaster, the cup you put on it may not sit too good. It may knock over or something. So you can see I'm just going around the donut, adding sprinkles, just making little straight stitches. And I go around, and then I go around again with this variegated yarn because, you know, I don't want only certain colors on one side of the donut and certain colors on the other. I want it to be a little more variegated. So now I've got some more color coming up there. There's some blue. And I'll just keep working this until I'm happy with however many sprinkles I have on there. And like I said, you can make your sprinkles longer or shorter. It's up to whatever you want. Just think in your mind when you're decorating a donut or a cupcake or a cookie, when you're adding sprinkles, they go all different directions and they face all different directions, and they're all, you know, up, down, sideways. So it's up to you how many sprinkles you want to add to your donut. I'm going to add a few more. I think it definitely needs more sprinkles. Once you have all the sprinkles that you want stitched onto the top of your donut, just make your last sprinkle, go to the back, and just weave that in, making sure you don't go through the front of your donut. And I just try to go through that edge right there, one way and then back the other, just so your sprinkle stays put. And clip that off. And now you have a fantastically cute sprinkle donut coaster.